The wind moves across the grass like a low whisper. The sky is wide and pale. The land looks calm, almost empty. But in late June of 1876, this quiet place holds a storm that is seconds away from breaking near a river called the Little Bighorn. A group of U.S. soldiers rides hard through dust and heat. They are part of the 7th Cavalry. Their leader is Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer. Custer is not an unknown man. He is famous. Some people call him brave. Some call him reckless. Many know his name. He carries the kind of confidence that makes men follow him, even when they are afraid. He believes he is about to win a great victory. He thought the enemy will run. But history does not always follow the plans of one man in the distance. Beyond the hills and the river bends, there is a village bigger than Custer expects. It is not a small camp. It is not a few families. It is a large gathering of Lakota and Northern Cheyenne, with some Arapaho too. There are tipis spread across the valley. Horses graze in groups. Smoke rises from cooking fires. Children move between the lodges. Elders sit and watch the day. It is a living place, full of people and life. Many of them are there because they do not want to be forced onto a reservation. They do not want to give up their land, their freedom, and their way of life. For them, this is not just a fight for pride. It is a fight for home. The U.S. government wants control of the region. Tension has been growing for years. Treaties have been signed, then ignored. Promises have been made, then broken. The pressure has been building like thunder behind clouds. Now the army has come to push people back. Custer rides forward, hungry for a win that will make him even more famous. He has done this before. He has chased enemies. He has attacked fast. He has taken risks. And sometimes, those risks have worked. But this time, the ground truth is different. The scouts see it first. They look down toward the valley and feel their stomachs tighten. Some of them mourn that the village is huge. They say there are too many lodges, too many horses, too many people. In a normal moment, a commander might pause. He might wait for more support. He might gather his full strength and plan carefully. Custer is not that kind of man. He does not want the village to escape. He fears the people will scatter if they know the army is near, and he wants the victory to belong to him, not to someone else who might arrive later. So he decides to strike. He decides to move now. He decides to divide his forces. It is a simple choice that carries a heavy price. The regiment breaks into separate parts. One group is sent toward the valley. Another is sent off to the side. Custer keeps the rest with him and rides along the high ground, searching for the right place to hit. To Custer, it may feel like a smart plan. He believes speed will shock the village. He believes surprise will break the enemy. He believes separate attacks will close the exits and trap everyone. But the plan depends on one dangerous idea: that the enemy is weak, that the enemy will panic, that the enemy cannot organize fast. And on this day, those ideas are wrong. Down in the village, the alarm spreads quickly. Warriors move with purpose. Horses are brought in. Weapons are grabbed. People shout warnings. The camp does not fall apart. It wakes up. The village has leaders. It has warriors who have fought before. It has men who understand the land and the moment. And it has something the soldiers do not fully understand: a shared reason to fight. Not for pay, not for promotion, not for medals, but for their families, for their future, for the right to exist, without being pushed into a corner. The first shots crack in the distance. They sound sharp and sudden in the summer air. Smoke rises in thin lines. Hooves, thunder. The battle begins to unfold like a fast-closing trap. Custer cannot see everything. He is moving along ridges and hills. Dust clouds cut the view. The land is broken, full of folds and dips. It is easy to lose track of time and distance out here. Somewhere behind him, other soldiers are already in trouble. Somewhere ahead, more warriors are coming. Custer rides on. His men follow. They trust him because they have to. They trust him because the army teaches trust. They trust him because turning back feels worse than going forward. But as the minutes pass, the feeling changes. What begins as confidence becomes confusion. What feels like control becomes uncertainty. The gunfire grows louder. The movement around them increases. Shadows appear on the hillsides. Riders flash into view, then vanish again. The enemy is not running. The enemy is gathering. The enemy is surrounding, and slowly, the truth becomes clear. Custer is not hunting a small group. He has stepped into the middle of something much larger. He has found the heart of a storm. For years, people will call this moment Custer's last stand. They will paint pictures of a heroic circle on a hill. They will turn it into a legend. Some will make it simple. Some will make it a story of glory. But the real story is sharper and harder. It is about a famous commander who believed too strongly in his own luck. It is about soldiers who rode into a fight they did not fully understand. It is about native families who faced a threat and refused to break. And it is about what happens when pride meets reality on open ground, under a wide sky, with no time left. On this day, one of the most talked about men in America is about to disappear into gunsmoke and dust. And when the sound finally fades, the hillside will be quiet again, but the country will never stop talking about what happened here, because the Battle of the Little Bighorn is not only a battle, it is a collision of two worlds, and it begins right now. After the first gunshots near the Little Bighorn, the land will never feel the same. But the battle does not begin on the hillside. It begins years earlier, far away from Montana, in offices, newspapers, and meetings where powerful people talk about the West like it is a prize. In the 1870s, the United States is growing fast. Railroads stretch across open land. New towns rise like sparks from a fire. People in the East read stories about the frontier and dream of fresh starts. Many believe the West is the future. But for the Lakota and the Northern Cheyenne, the West is not a new dream. It is their home. It is the place where their families have lived, hunted, and prayed for generations. They know every river bend, every ridge, every path where buffalo once moved like dark waves across the plains. To them, the land is not just dirt and grass. It is identity. It is memory. It is sacred. For a time, the U.S. government claims it understands this. There are treaties, formal promises, written on paper, signed by leaders. One of the most important is the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. It recognizes a large area of land for the Lakota, including the Black Hills, a place they consider holy. On paper, it looks like peace. But peace on paper can be fragile when money enters the room. In 1874, an expedition goes into the Black Hills, and reports of gold spread quickly. News travels like wildfire. Miners rush in. They do not wait for permission. They do not care about lines on a map. They see gold, and they see a chance to get rich. This creates a problem for the government. If the treaty is honored, the miners must be kept out. If the miners are allowed in, the treaty becomes meaningless. The government tries to solve this by buying the Black Hills, but many Lakota leaders refuse. They do not want to sell what they believe cannot be sold. The land is not a product to them. It is part of who they are. When the refusal comes, the pressure increases. Newspaper writers call the tribes dangerous. Politicians call them obstacles. Military leaders talk about ending the problem. More settlers arrive. More miners dig. More fences appear. And each fence, each new camp, feels like a nail being driven into the future of the Plains tribes. At the same time, life is changing in a painful way. The buffalo, once the center of Plains life, are disappearing. Hunters kill them in massive numbers. Some do it for meat, some for hides, and some simply for sport. Trains make it easier to reach buffalo lands, and rifles make it easier to kill. For the Lakota and Cheyenne, the buffalo is food, clothing, tools, shelter, and spirit. When the buffalo disappear, hunger follows. When hunger follows, the world becomes unstable, and that instability makes one thing clear. These people are being pushed into a corner. The government then makes a demand. It orders many bands of Lakota and Cheyenne to report to reservations by a deadline in early 1876. The message is simple: come in, or be treated as hostile. But the deadline does not match reality. Some groups are far away. Some are hunting. Some cannot travel safely in winter. And some refuse because they do not trust the government's promises anymore. They have seen too many broken agreements. They have watched too many temporary moves become permanent losses. They have listened to too many words that sounded peaceful, only to lead to more control. So many stay out. And because they stay out, The U.S. government decides to act. The army is sent to force them back. This decision turns the plains into a chessboard. Officers plan movements like lines on a map. Columns of troops are ordered to move in different directions. The goal is to find the non-reservation bands, surround them, and bring them in or destroy their ability to resist. This is the larger war behind the Battle of the Little Bighorn. It is called the Great Sioux War of 1876, but for the people living it, it is not a title. It is fear, hunger, movement, and constant danger. Asterisk, in the native camps, leaders discuss what to do. Some want peace, if peace is possible. Some believe peace is only another trap. They know the army is coming. They know they may not be left alone. And they know one terrible truth. If they split into smaller groups, they may be hunted down. One by one, so many bands gather together. Not because they want a big war, but because they want safety. Because together, they can protect the families. Together, they can watch the hills. Together, they can make decisions as one. This is how the large village near the Little Bighorn forms. It is not only warriors. It is thousands of people, men, women, children moving with the seasons and with danger. They choose a place with water, grass, and space for horses. They build a camp that feels strong, alive, and secure. For a moment, it seems like they have found breathing room. But breathing room is not peace, because at the same time, on the army side, there is a man who is both admired and controversial. George Armstrong Custer. Custer has a talent for war, but he also has a hunger for attention. He is known for bold attacks and fast movement. He is also known for taking big risks. In the East, people read his name and imagine a hero. They see him as a symbol of American power and courage. Some even see him as a future political leader. Custer knows this, and Custer wants to keep that image alive. So when the Army campaign begins in 1876, Custer is ready. He wants the moment. He wants the victory. He wants to be the man who ends the conflict with one dramatic strike, and that desire matters. Because desire can shape decisions. It can make a leader move faster than wisdom. It can make a leader hear only what he wants to hear. And as Custer rides toward the Little Bighorn, the stage is already set. The West is tense. The treaties are broken. The land is contested. The buffalo are vanishing, and thousands of native people are gathered together, trying to survive. Two worlds are moving toward each other. One world believes it is bringing order. The other believes it is defending life. And soon, the quiet river valley will become the center of a story that the world will argue about for more than 100 years. Because the Battle of the Little Bighorn is not only about what happened in one day, it is about everything that pushed that day into existence. And the push is not over yet. The Little Bighorn Valley looks peaceful from a distance. The river curves through green grass. Cottonwood trees lean over the water. The hills rise like soft walls on both sides. To someone passing through, it might seem like nothing important could happen here. But in June of 1876, this valley holds thousands of lives. It also holds fear, hope, and a danger that is moving closer with every hour in the large native camp. The day begins like many others. Women tend fires and prepare food. Children chase each other between lodges. Horses stand in groups, flicking their tails in the heat. Smoke rises in thin lines and disappears into the bright sky. Elders sit and watch, their faces calm but alert. They have seen enough in life to know that calm days can change fast. This camp is not a single tribe. It is a gathering of Lakota and Northern Cheyenne, with some Arapaho as well. Many have traveled for safety. Many have come because they do not want to be forced into a reservation life controlled by strangers. Some have come because they believe their freedom is slipping away, and this may be the last time they can live as they choose. To outsiders, it may look like a threat. To the people inside it, it is a community. It is families trying to survive together. The camp has leaders, but leadership is not one simple thing. There are war leaders. There are respected elders. There are spiritual men. There are voices that carry weight because they have earned trust over many seasons. One of those respected spiritual leaders is Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull is not famous because he loves attention. He is respected because people believe he sees deeply. He speaks for a way of life that is being crushed. He is known for his strength his calm, and his refusal to bend easily. There is also Crazy Horse, a warrior known for courage and speed. People describe him as intense and focused. He is not the kind of man who makes speeches to impress crowds. He is known for action, for leading in battle, and for staying true to himself. In the Cheyenne side of the camp, there are brave leaders, 2 men, who protect their people, who understand the land, and who know the danger is real. This matters because the camp is not unprepared. Many have fought before. Many know the army is coming. Many have heard the stories of soldiers pushing people away from their homes. The camp knows it is being watched and hunted. Still, many want to believe they can breathe for a little longer. Across the plains, the U.S. Army is moving. The Army sees the situation in a different way. The government has ordered the bands outside the reservations to return. When they do not, the Army is sent to force the issue. Officers talk about hostiles. They talk about bringing them in. They talk about restoring order. In this Army world, duty comes first. Orders matter. Reputation matters. A win matters. And in this world, there is one officer who stands out more than the rest. George Armstrong Custer. Custer rides with the 7th Cavalry. He is a man who has been praised and criticized, sometimes on the same page of the same newspaper. Some call him a hero from the Civil War. Some call him careless. Many know he is ambitious. Custer has a sharp eye for drama. He understands what makes a story. He knows that the public loves a bold leader who moves fast and wins big. He also knows that a major victory could lift his name higher than ever. His men see him as confident. Some admire him. Some fear his risk-taking. But they follow him because that is what soldiers do. They follow because it is their job. And because turning away from a commander is not an option. Custer also has scouts. These scouts matter more than most people understand. Some are native men from tribes allied with the Army, such as Crow and Eric. They know the land. They know how to read tracks and smoke and movement. They know when the air feels wrong. As the 7th Cavalry draws closer, these scouts begin to notice signs that the camp is large. Very large. They see many pony tracks. They see a huge trail in the grass. They sense a gathering bigger than expected. Some of them warn the officers that this is no small group. The warning hangs in the air like a heavy stone. A large village means many warriors. It means a fight could be harder and longer. It means the army could be outnumbered. It means a fast attack might not work. A careful commander might stop. He might wait for more troops. He might choose a safer plan. But Custer is not thinking like a careful commander. He is thinking like a man chasing a moment. He believes speed will win. He believes surprise will break the camp. He believes hesitation will let the village escape. And he believes that if the camp escapes, the victory could belong to someone else. So he pushes forward. He pushes the 7th Cavalry deeper into risk. This is where the two worlds begin to touch. In the valley camp, the people do not yet know exactly how close the soldiers are. Life continues, but watchfulness grows. Dogs bark at strange sounds. Riders move out to look. People glance toward the hills more often. In Custer's column, the pace stays fast. Horses breathe hard. Men sweat and adjust their gear. The sun beats down. The land seems open, but it is full of hidden folds and ravines that can hide movement. The closer they get, the more the tension rises. Custer is approaching a place where the story cannot be controlled. He is riding toward a camp filled with families. He is riding toward warriors who will not run the way he expects. He is riding toward battle that will be remembered with many names, many arguments, and many emotions, because the truth is simple and sharp. Both sides believe they are fighting for survival. One side believes it is bringing order to the frontier. The other side believes it is defending its right to exist, and now, the distance between them is shrinking. Soon, the silence of the valley will break. Soon, the decision to attack will become a chain that cannot be undone, and once it starts, no one will be able to stop what comes next. The sun sits high and hot over the plains. Dust clings to boots, to saddles, to the faces of tired men. The 7th Cavalry has been moving for hours, pushing forward with urgency. Every mile feels like a step closer to a moment that cannot be taken back. Custer rides near the front. He looks forward more than he looks back. His posture is steady, almost calm, as if the land itself must obey him. He has made quick attacks before. He has chased enemies before. And in his mind, this is another chance to win fast. Win big and return as the hero everyone expects. But there is a difference between confidence and certainty. Confidence can help a man move forward. Certainty can blind him. The scouts keep seeing signs, tracks, smoke, broken grass, horse prints in numbers that do not make sense for a small camp. It is like the ground is trying to speak. It is warning them without words. Some of the scouts are uneasy. They have hunted and fought and traveled these plains for years. They know the difference between a small party and a great gathering. They try to tell the officers. They try to tell Custer. The village is big too. Big. But the problem is not that Custer hears nothing. The problem is that Custer hears it and still believes he can handle it. He believes speed will solve everything. He believes fear will break the camp. He believes the enemy will scatter the moment the soldiers appear. He believes that if he attacks now, the story will end in one clean, shining victory. And so the cavalry keeps moving. Ahead, the land begins to change. The open plains fold into uneven ridges. Small ravines cut the ground like scars. Tall grass hides, dips, and slopes. From a distance, it looks simple. Up close, it is tricky, confusing, and easy to misread. This terrain will matter later, because in broken land, men can disappear quickly. And when men disappear, panic finds room to grow. Custer meets with his officers. He speaks with directness, like someone who wants action, not debate. He knows the campaign involves other army columns too, and he does not want to lose the prize to someone else. He believes the village might run if they wait, so he decides to attack immediately. Not tomorrow, not after joining more forces. Now, then he makes the choice that will shape the rest of the story. He splits the regiment. It sounds like a smart plan when spoken fast. It sounds like a way to strike from more than one direction. It sounds like a way to block escape routes and close the net. But it also means the 7th Cavalry will no longer be one strong fist. It will become separate hands, separated by distance, hills, and confusion. And in war, distance is danger. Custer sends Major Marcus Reno with one group. Reno is ordered to move toward the valley, toward the village, and begin the attack. Custer sends Captain Frederick Benteen with another group, off to the side, to cover ground and make sure no enemy force escapes or attacks from that direction. Custer keeps the rest of the men with him and rides along the higher ridges, planning to strike from another angle. To Custer, it feels like control. To the enemy, it will become an opportunity. Reno moves first. His men ride down toward the river. The air near the water feels cooler, but the tension is hotter than ever. The soldiers can see parts of the village ahead. They can see movement. They can see dust and shapes and the edges of lodges. Reno is not sure what he is facing. He knows there are many people, but he cannot measure the full size. He follows orders because that is what an officer does. At first, the soldiers expect the camp to break. They expect women and children to run in panic. They expect warriors to scatter. They expect a quick collapse. But that is not what happens. In the village, the alarm spreads fast. It moves like fire through dry grass. People shout. Riders mount up. Warriors gather weapons. Families begin to move to safer places. The camp does not freeze. It responds. And in that response, the army's assumptions begin to crack. Because this camp is not helpless. It is not confused. It is not alone. Warriors appear in increasing numbers. They ride hard and fast, using the land the way they have always used, it moving through dips and behind ridges, showing themselves, then vanishing, then striking again. The soldiers see them and feel something change. This is not a small group trying to escape. This is a force preparing to fight. Reno's men begin to fire. Smoke fills the air in bursts. The sound of rifles spreads across the valley. Horses jump and twist. Commands are shouted. Men try to hold their line, but the pressure grows quickly. Reno senses the danger. The warriors are not retreating. They are closing in. The fight feels larger by the minute. He pulls his men into the timber near the river, hoping the trees will give some cover. But the timber becomes another trap. Visibility is poor. Confusion grows. Men lose sight of each other. Fear starts to spread through the ranks. Then Reno retreats again back toward the bluffs. The retreat is not smooth. It is fast and chaotic. Some men fall behind. Some fall from horses. Some do not make it. The river, which once looked like a simple crossing, becomes a scene of struggle and panic. And while Reno fights to survive, something else is happening in the hills. Custer is still moving. Custer could not see Reno's full situation. He cannot feel the fear spreading through Reno's command. He does not understand how quickly the battle is changing shape. He is riding along ridges, searching for the right place to strike the village from the side. He believes the village is about to collapse. He believes Reno is pushing them. He believes his own attack will finish the job. But in the valley, the warriors are not collapsing. They are growing stronger. They are gaining momentum. And now, many of them begin to shift their attention because they can sense something else. They can sense another group of soldiers moving along the high ground. They can sense the direction of danger. They can sense Custer. Custer has split his force to catch the village. But now, the village and its warriors are turning that split into a weakness. The trap of confidence is closing, and the next part of the story will show what happens when a famous man rides forward, expecting fear only to meet resistance that he did not imagine. Because at the Little Bighorn, the plan is already breaking, and the hill ahead is waiting. Reno's retreat to the bluffs changes the battle in a way Custer cannot fully see. On the higher ground, Reno's men try to breathe, try to gather themselves, try to understand what just happened. Some stare down into the valley with wide eyes. Some grip their rifles so tightly their hands shake. The air smells like sweat, dust, and gun smoke. They had expected the village to break apart. Instead, the village fought back hard. Now Reno's group is wounded, scattered, and worried. Men are missing. Horses are down. Officers shout orders, but the sound does not bring comfort. It only proves the situation is slipping. Then Captain Benteen arrives. Benteen has been moving on the side, following Custer's earlier orders. He reaches the bluffs with his men and finds Reno's command in trouble. For a moment, everything pauses. Two groups of soldiers face each other, both trying to decide what matters most now: hold their ground or push forward. This is when a single piece of paper becomes one of the most famous messages in American military history. A messenger rides up. His name is Giovanni Martini, a trumpeter in the 7th Cavalry. His horse is lathered with sweat. His face is tight with urgency. He brings a note from Custer. The note is short. The words are plain, but the meaning is heavy. Come on, big village. Be quick. Bring packs. The message tells Benteen 3 things. First, the village is big. Second, Custer wants Benteen to hurry. Third, Custer wants the pack train extra ammunition and supplies to come to Dot. The note is like a door opening into danger. Benteen reads it. Reno hears it. The men around them sense its urgency. But the question is not only what the note says. The question is what the battlefield allows. Because even if Benteen wants to reach Custer quickly, he is standing with Reno's shaken men on the bluffs, and the fight is still burning. Warriors are moving nearby. Shots still crack at intervals. The soldiers know they are not safe here either. If Benteen leaves Reno now, Reno may collapse. If Reno collapses, the pack train may be taken. And if the pack train is taken, everyone loses ammunition, and everyone dies. So the officers hesitate, not because they are lazy, not because they are slow, because the situation has become a test with no good answer. Benteen and Reno decide to stay together and form a defense on the bluffs. They send for the pack train to come up faster. They try to stabilize their position. Meanwhile, Custer is moving farther away, and this is the cruel truth of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. The battle splits into separate worlds. Reno and Benteen can hear distant gunfire. They can feel that something terrible is happening beyond the ridges, but they cannot see it clearly. They cannot measure it. And they cannot reach it in time. Custer's group moves along the high ground north of the village. The terrain is broken, full of folds that hide movement. Ravines cut deep into the earth. The ridges rise and fall. It is the kind of ground where a man can ride into trouble without seeing it, until it is right in front of him. Custer is trying to find a place to hit the village from the side. He wants to strike where the camp is weakest. He believes he can shock the people and break them. But the warriors are not waiting in one place. They are moving. They are communicating through riders and shouts. They understand the land as if it is part of their body. They know where soldiers must pass, where they must slow down, where they must funnel through narrow spaces. And now many warriors who fought Reno begin to shift direction. They ride toward the sound of Custer's movement. They ride toward the ridges. They ride toward the new threat, because they know something important. If they stop Custer, they protect the camp. If they stop Custer, they protect the families. If they stop Custer, they prevent a break into the village. So the warriors begin to converge. Custer's men start to notice the change. Asterisk at first, the warriors appear in small groups, riders flashing over a ridge, then dropping down again. Soldiers fire at shapes that vanish into the land. The distance is hard to judge. The smoke makes it harder, then the groups grow. More riders appear. The pressure increases. The soldiers begin to feel that they are being watched from multiple directions. In war, there is a moment when confidence turns into tension. It is the moment a man realizes he may not be in control. Custer is approaching that moment. His men are not stupid. They see the numbers. They hear the sound. They feel their horses reacting to the chaos around them. They know they are far from Reno now. They know Benteen is not with them. They know they are separated. Asterisk, and yet, they keep moving, because stopping in the wrong place can be deadly. Because turning back can be deadly. Because hesitation can break a unit faster than bullets. Custer sends messages, trying to pull the regiment together. But a message is not a rope. It is only paper and hope. And on this day, hope is slow. The warriors move faster. Asterisk, they ride along the folds of the land. They use the ravines like hidden roads. They appear on the flanks. They strike. They pull back. They strike again. This is not a single wave. It is many smaller attacks that keep tightening the space around the soldiers. It is a net that is being drawn closed. Custer's group begins to drift toward higher ground. That is what soldiers often do when surrounded. Higher ground can be safer. It can give a better view. It can protect the flanks. But higher ground can also become a corner. And corners are where people get trapped. Far behind them. Reno and Benteen listen. They can still hear the distant firing. At times it seems to increase, like a storm intensifying. At times it fades, like the storm is moving away. No one on the bluffs can say exactly what is happening to Custer, but the note "Big Village, be quick" now feels like a warning that arrived too late. As the afternoon moves forward, the sun continues to burn. The air continues to vibrate with sound, and the distance between Custer and support becomes more than miles. It becomes time, it becomes fate, because soon, on the ridges beyond sight, the most famous part of this story will happen. Not in a clean circle, not in a movie pose, but in broken ground, in fear, in speed, and in desperate survival. And the message that didn't arrive fast enough will become a symbol of everything that went wrong. On the high bluffs above, the Little Bighorn River, the world feels smaller. The sky is still wide, but the danger is close. Major Reno and Captain Benteen stand with their men on uneven ground, trying to turn a rough hilltop into a fortress. They can still hear gunfire somewhere. To the north, that sound matters more than any speech, because that sound means Custer is engaged. That sound means Custer is fighting. That sound means time is running out. Reno's command is shaken. Many men are tired, scared, and angry. Some are bleeding. Some have lost friends in the valley and cannot stop thinking about it. Horses stand with foam on their mouths, their sides rising and falling fast. The soldiers try to form a line, but the line keeps changing because the threat keeps shifting. Benteen is calm, but he is not relaxed. He has read Custer's message. He knows the village is large. He knows Custer wanted him to move quickly. And he knows one harsh truth. If he rides away now, he may leave Reno's men to break and die. So he stays. The pack train begins to arrive slowly, carrying extra ammunition. The packs are heavy. The mules are slow. The men unloading supplies move with shaking hands, because every second feels stolen from disaster. Warriors begin to appear on the surrounding ridges. At first, they are shadows against the bright grass. Riders stop, watch, and then vanish. Then they return closer. The soldiers fire. Smoke jumps from rifle barrels. The sound echoes off the hills and rolls down into the valley. The warriors do not rush straight into the bullets. They do something smarter. They move around. They test the edges. They look for weak spots. They use the land like it is a shield. This is not one enemy line in one place. This is movement in many directions. The soldiers on the hill feel as if eyes are everywhere. The battle becomes a fight for space. Every few minutes, the soldiers have to shift their positions. They dig small holes, scrape dirt, stack saddles, and use dead horses as cover. It is ugly, but it works. Men flatten themselves behind anything that can stop a bullet. Reno tries to regain control. He shouts orders. He tries to keep the line steady. But fear is a hard thing to command. The soldiers are not only fighting warriors, they are fighting panic, thirst, heat, and doubt. And above all, they are fighting a question they cannot answer. What is happening to Custer? They can hear firing in the distance. Sometimes it sounds heavy, like a large fight. Sometimes it seems to break into fast bursts. Then it becomes softer. Then it grows again. Reno and Benteen look toward the north. Again and again. They cannot see Custer. The ridges block the view. Dust hangs in the air. The land hides the truth. A few men beg to ride out and find him. Some want to push forward as a group. Some want to stay where they are and survive the night. There is no perfect choice. If they move, they could ride into an ambush. If they stay, they might be surrounded until no one is left. But Benteen understands something that war teaches quickly. A unit that breaks is finished. So he focuses on holding the hill. He focuses on keeping men together. He focuses on ammunition and positions and lines of fire. The warriors keep pressing dot shots, snap in from different angles. A man lifts his head to high and gets hit. Another tries to run to a new spot and falls. The hilltop fills with small moments of terror, fast, sharp, and final. Some soldiers begin to feel thirst like a sickness. They have been moving and fighting for hours. The heat is strong. Their mouths turn dry. Their lips crack. Water becomes a dream. The Little Bighorn River is down below, but it might as well be miles away. Any move toward the river means exposure. Any exposure means death. The warriors know this. They know thirst weakens. A man faster than fear. They keep the soldiers pinned. They keep them trapped on that dusty hill. Hours pass, the sun begins to lower, and the shadows stretch out across the ground. As evening approaches, something changes in the sound of the battle. The distant gunfire to the north begins to fade. At first, the soldiers think the fight is moving farther away. Then they realize something worse. The firing is not moving. It is stopping. The hilltop grows strangely quiet in that direction, as if the land itself is holding its breath. Reno and Benteen listen. Men glance at one another. Some try to convince themselves that silence is good news, that maybe Custer has won, that maybe the village has broken, that maybe help is coming. But deep down, many feel the opposite, because silence in war can mean only one thing. Someone is no longer shooting. Someone has been overwhelmed. Someone has fallen. Still, Reno and Benteen cannot leave. Not now. Not in the dark. Not when warriors are close and moving around them like a living ring. So they prepare for a night under siege. The soldiers tighten their defense. They bring ammunition close. They position men along the edges. They speak in low voices. Some pray quietly. Some stare at the ground and shake. Some sit with a blank face, because their mind cannot hold the fear anymore. The warriors do not fully disappear at night. They remain present, like a shadow. Sometimes a shot cracks in the darkness. Sometimes a call echoes across the hills. The soldiers jump at small sounds. Every movement feels like it could be the start of a final attack. By morning, the hilltop looks like a place scraped raw by violence. Spent cartridges lie everywhere. The smell of powder hangs in the air. The wounded groan softly. Men look older than they did yesterday. And still, they do not know Custer's fate. This is the cruel middle of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. One part of the 7th Cavalry is holding on by discipline and luck. Another part has vanished behind the ridges, and between those two parts is a gap, filled with unanswered questions. In the Great Sioux War, People will later argue about blame. They will argue about courage. They will argue about what should have happened. But on this hill, in these hours, the truth is simpler. Men are trying to stay alive. They are trying to protect each other. They are trying to hold a position that feels too small for the size of the storm around them. And as the light rises again over the Little Bighorn, the soldiers on the bluffs are about to discover that the silence to the north was not a victory. It was a warning. Morning arrives slowly over the Little Bighorn. The light is pale at first, then stronger. The wind returns, moving through the grass as if nothing happened. But on the hill where Reno and Benteen held through the night, the ground tells a different story. Spent cartridges lie everywhere. Saddles are torn. Dead horses form dark shapes in the dirt. Men sit with tired faces and dry lips. Some stare into space. Some quietly check the wounded. Nobody celebrates. Nobody jokes. They are alive, but they feel like they have stepped out of a nightmare and into another one. And the silence to the north still feels wrong. For hours, during the long afternoon and night, Reno and Benteen heard gunfire in the distance. Then it faded, then it stopped. That silence sat on the horizon like a closed door. Now, with daylight, the soldiers can finally see farther. They look across ridges and valleys. They expect movement. They expect dust. They expect to see Custer's men returning. But they see nothing. No blue uniforms, no flags, no riders, just empty land. This is where fear changes shape. In the dark, fear is loud. It makes men jump at shadows. In daylight, fear becomes quiet. It becomes a heavy thought no one wants to say out loud. Custer is not coming back. Reno and Benteen begin to act. They cannot stay trapped forever. The warriors who attack through the day and night are less visible now. The pressure eases, not because the danger is gone, but because the battle has shifted somewhere else. Soar ended. The soldiers form up carefully. They move with caution, expecting a sudden attack at any moment. Men look over their shoulders. Their mouths are still dry. Their eyes are tired, but they force themselves to scan every ridge. Then they begin to move toward the north, toward the silence. As they travel, the land feels too open. The grass sways calmly. Birds circle above. The hills rise and fall in long lines. Everything looks normal, and that makes it worse, because normal is not what they expect after a battle. They move along the ridges where gunfire was heard. The terrain becomes more broken, more dips, more ravines, more places where a fight could disappear from view. The soldiers walk and ride in careful steps. Their senses are stretched tight. Then they begin to find signs. First, it is small things. A dropped piece of equipment, a torn strap, a broken rifle stock. Then they find more. A dead horse, then another, then a cluster of them. The men slow down. The air feels colder, even in the sun. They begin to understand that they are entering a place where something final happened. And then they see bodies. First, it is a single soldier, then two, then several more. They are scattered in a way that does not look like a clean line or a strong defense. It looks like movement, chaos, and collapse. The men of Reno and Benteen look at each other, and their faces tighten. Some swallow hard. Some whisper short prayers. Some go silent, because words feel too small. They keep moving. More bodies appear along the ridges. Some are close together. Some are alone. It looks like pieces of a unit that was pressed, pushed, and pulled apart by force. It could not stop. The soldiers know these men. Some recognize faces. Some recognize uniforms. Some recognize the horses. And now the truth is no longer a fear. It is a reality. Custer's command has been destroyed. They reach a higher point where the land opens into a wide view. The hillside ahead is dotted with fallen men. The scene is still. The wind moves through grass around them. The sun shines on everything without mercy. This is the place people will later call Last Stand Hill. But in this moment, it does not feel like a legend. It feels like a grave. Custer is there. The famous man who rode forward with confidence is now just another body on the ground, surrounded by the men who followed him. No victory pose. No dramatic final speech. No clean ending. Just silence. Just loss. Just the cost of a plan that failed. Reno and Benteen's men stand and stare. Some feel shock. Some feel anger. Some feel guilt. Some feel nothing at all. because their minds cannot handle the weight. A few men cry quietly. Most do not. Many are too exhausted for tears. They begin to count, not with numbers out loud, but with their eyes and hearts. They see how many are gone. They see how complete it is. The entire group that rode with Custer is dead, and the questions rise immediately. How did this happen so fast? Where was the last defense? Why are the bodies spread out like this? Did Custer try to break through to the river? Did he try to reach the village? Did the warriors surround him from all sides? Nobody can answer clearly. Not yet, because the Battle of the Little Bighorn did not leave one simple story behind. It left fragments, it left scattered evidence. It left fear and confusion. Even the land seems unsure how to explain what it witnessed. Some soldiers search for survivors, even though they know there will be none. They call out names. They check the ground. They look behind small rises. Nothing. Then they begin to look at the position itself. The hill is not high enough to be safe. The ridges around it are too close. Ravines cut through the area like hidden paths. A force that knows the land could move quickly and strike from angles the soldiers cannot protect. Custer's men, separated from support, would have faced the storm, and the storm would have had numbers. Warriors from the village could have come in waves, shifting, surrounding, closing the distance. The soldiers on the hill try to imagine it. They picture Custer's command moving under pressure, trying to find better ground, trying to form a line, trying to hold. They picture horses screaming, rifles firing, dust rising, shouts echoing. They picture fear spreading. As the enemy does not run, they picture the moment when the last bullets are gone. They picture the moment when the last man falls. But imagining it is not the same as understanding it, because this battle is not only about tactics, it is about people. It is about a village that fought to protect families. It is about soldiers who rode into a fight that became bigger than their plan. It is about a famous commander who believed speed and confidence would carry him through anything. And it is about the brutal truth that sometimes history does not care what a man believes, that as Reno and Benteen's men stand among the fallen, another realization begins to take shape. Yes, Custer is dead. Yes, this is a disaster for the 7th Cavalry. But the story is not finished, because the battle did not end. The war. And the victory for the Native Alliance will not bring peace. It will bring consequences. It will bring revenge. It will bring a country's anger crashing down. And in the middle of all that, two human truths will exist at the same time. A truth that many people struggle to hold together. That is what comes next. The day after the fighting, the Little Bighorn Valley feels like a place holding its breath. The river still moves. The grass still sways. The sky still stretches wide, but the silence is heavy, because everyone who survived knows the ground has changed. On the ridges, Reno and Benteen soldiers stand among the fallen men of Custer's command. They are shaken, exhausted, and numb. They look at the bodies and try to understand how a famous officer and so many soldiers could vanish so completely. Some feel anger first, some feel shame, some feel guilt, some feel nothing at all, because the mind sometimes goes blank when it cannot carry grief. They know one thing for sure. The story that will be told back east will be huge, bigger than the hills, bigger than the facts, because people do not just lose a battle, they lose a symbol, and symbols make strong emotions. But while the soldiers stand on the ridge, there is another world just beyond their view. Back near the village, the native families are also trying to understand what happened. For many, the battle was not a moment of glory. It was a day of fear. It was a day of defending the camp. It was a day of chaos, so loud and fast that it blurred into pieces of memory. The camp holds women and children and elders. Many had to move quickly to safer areas. Some hid, some ran. Some helped the wounded. Some carried water. Some gathered children. Some prayed. Because when soldiers approach a village, families do not think in military terms. They think in survival terms. They think, where are the children? Where are the horses? Where can we go? Who is hurt? How do we keep people alive? And in the middle of this fear, warriors moved to protect the camp. Some rode out the moment the alarm spread. Others joined as the fight grew. Many were young. Many had never faced this size of battle. But they knew the most important thing. If the soldiers broke into the village, the cost could be unimaginable. So, they fought with urgency. Not because they loved violence, because they loved their people. This is where the story becomes difficult for many to accept because two human truths exist at the same time. Truth number one: Custer's men were human beings. Some were barely more than boys. Some were fathers. Some were immigrants trying to build a life. Some were veterans of other fights. They rode because they were ordered to ride. They fought because they were told to fight. And when the plan failed, many likely felt the same feeling any human would feel in that moment: fear. Fear of dying, fear of being alone, fear that help is not coming. They did not all choose this war with joy, but they were inside it. Truth number two: the Native Alliance was fighting for its life. For the Lakota and Cheyenne, this was not about winning attention. It was not about a trophy. It was about stopping an enemy force before it tore through the camp and shattered families. The warriors did not see famous Custer. Many did not even know his face. They saw soldiers riding toward their homes. They saw the threat that had been growing for years. They saw the shape of a future where their children could be forced into a world with no freedom, no land, and no voice. So they fought with everything they had. Both truths are real. And holding both truths is what makes this story powerful. Not because it makes anyone comfortable, but because it makes the story honest. After the battle, emotions move through the village in different ways. Some feel relief that the camp survived. Some feel pride that warriors stood strong. Some feel grief because not everyone lived. Some feel worried because they know how the United States will respond. Because they understand something the public often forgets. A victory in one battle does not stop a great power from coming back. It can make the great power come back harder. Leaders in the camp know this. They have watched the pattern. They have watched broken promises turn into pressure. They have watched pressure turn into force. They have watched force turn into removal. They know the news of the battle will travel fast. They know newspapers will print it as a shock. They know the government will not accept the defeat. Like this quietly. In the soldier world, Reno and Benteen must return and report. They are not celebrating survival. They are bracing for questions. Why did the regiment split? Why did support not reach Custer? Why did the plan fail? They know people will want someone to blame. They also know the public will not want a complicated story. The public usually wants a simple one: a hero, a villain, a clean ending. But the Little Bighorn does not offer clean endings. It offers a warning. It shows what happens when assumptions replace facts. It shows what happens when a leader underestimates the enemy. It shows what happens when ambition pushes a plan faster than it should go. And it shows what happens when a community fights back with unity. As the days pass, the aftermath spreads like ripples. The army gathers itself. More soldiers are sent west. More pressure is applied. More campaigns follow. Back east, headlines explode. People who never saw the plains speak with certainty about what happened there. Some turn Custer into a martyr, a man who died heroically. Others criticize him as reckless and careless. The arguments begin immediately, and they will last for generations. But the people who were actually there carry a different kind of memory. For the survivors on the bluffs, it is the sound of gunfire fading into silence. It is the dry mouth, the burning thirst. It is the sight of the ridge with bodies scattered in the grass. For the people in the village, it is the alarm spreading through camp. It is the rush to protect children. It is the dust, the screams of horses, the smoke. It is the moment the soldiers stopped advancing and the camp still stood. And then, for everyone, it is the knowledge of what comes next. Because the Little Bighorn was not the end. It was the spark that lit a larger fire. The United States would not walk away from this defeat. It would respond with more force, more pressure, and more control. So even in victory, many Native families felt a shadow. They knew the fight ahead could be worse than the fight they had just survived. And that is the emotional turn of this story. A battle that is remembered as a last stand is also a moment when a People proved they could not be erased in silence, but proving that truth would come at a cost. The valley is quiet again, yet the future is louder than ever, and the next part of this biography is not about the battle itself, it is about the consequences. The wave that came after the gun smoke cleared. The battle ends. But the war does not stop. After the Battle of the Little Bighorn, the land grows quiet again, yet the quiet feels dangerous. Smoke fades. Footprints remain in the grass. The river keeps flowing, as if it does not know what happened. But the people who lived through it know something that is hard to explain. A single victory can bring a bigger storm. Reno and Benteen soldiers do not stay long on the battlefield. They are worn down and low on strength. They have wounded men to carry. They have horses that can barely move. They also know they are still surrounded by uncertainty, so they pull back and head toward safety. As they travel, the weight of what they saw follows them like a shadow. They are alive, but they are not proud. Many feel a cold fear about what will happen next. The army does not like losing. The United States does not like being embarrassed. And this defeat is more than military loss. It is public humiliation. News travels quickly. Even in the 1870s, riders carry reports. Officers send messages. And soon, newspapers in the East begin printing bold headlines. People read the words and feel shocked. Custer is dead. The 7th Cavalry is broken. A large native force defeated one of the most famous men in the country. For many Americans far away, the details do not matter at first. The feeling matters. The feeling is anger, fear, and disbelief. Some people turn Custer into a legend instantly. They speak of him like a hero who fought to the last breath. They imagine a perfect last stand on a hill, as if the battle followed a clean script. Other people blame him. They call him reckless. They say he moved too fast, split his men, and invited disaster. But in both versions, one thing grows stronger: the demand for punishment. People want a response. They want the army to strike back. They want the frontier to be controlled. So the government and the military do what powerful systems often do after a shock. They press harder. They send more troops. They push the campaign forward with more force and less patience. In the native camp, the mood is not simple either. Yes, there is pride. Warriors defended the village. Families survived an attack that could have turned into a massacre. The camp proved that the army could be stopped. But there is also worry. Leaders understand the U.S. response will not be gentle. A nation with railroads, factories, and endless supplies can replace losses. It can send more men. It can stay in the field longer. It can follow again and again. The Native Alliance knows something important. They won a battle. But the United States has the power to turn that battle into a reason for bigger war. So as days pass, many bands begin to move. The huge village that fought together cannot remain in one place forever. Food becomes harder to find. Horse herds need grass. People need safety. And staying in one location makes it easier for the army to locate them. The large camp begins to break apart because their courage disappears, because survival requires motion. Small groups move in different directions. Some head toward familiar places. Some head toward hunting grounds. Some head toward areas they believe will be harder for the army to reach. They are trying to protect families, not create another massive battle. Meanwhile, army leaders rebuild the campaign. More soldiers arrive. New plans are made. The army begins a hard, long pursuit designed to wear people down. In the months that follow, the conflict becomes a struggle of endurance. And endurance is where the balance of power matters. The army has steady supplies, forts, and backup forces. The native bands have knowledge of the land and strong will. But they face hunger, winter, and fewer resources as time goes on. As the year moves toward colder seasons, conditions become brutal. The weather turns sharp. The plains become less forgiving. Hunting becomes difficult. Food becomes scarce. Families become tired. The army uses this reality as a weapon. They do not always need one. Dramatic battle, sometimes they only need to keep pressure on, keep moving, keep searching, keep forcing people to run. Slowly. The choice is narrow. Some leaders decide to surrender because they want to save their people from starvation and constant pursuit. Surrender is not always a sign of defeat in spirit. Sometimes it is a decision to keep children alive. Other leaders refuse surrender as long as possible. They continue to move, continue to resist, continue to hope for a way to live free. But hope becomes expensive. It costs food, it costs sleep, it costs lives. The victory at the Little Bighorn begins to feel. Too many families, like a moment that proved something and also triggered something. It proved the Native Alliance could fight and win, but it also gave the United States a powerful reason to commit, even more strongly to control. In the public mind, the story is becoming a symbol, and symbols can be more dangerous than facts, because once a symbol is created, people will do almost anything to protect it, avenge it, or use it. Custer becomes a symbol of American courage to some, to others. He becomes a symbol of American arrogance. The Native victory becomes a symbol of resistance to many Native families, too many Americans. It becomes a symbol of threat. And when groups see each other as symbols instead of human beings, the path to peace gets smaller. Back on the battlefield itself, the U.S. begins to mark the ground. The place becomes a site of memory. People will visit it. People will argue about it. People will tell stories about it for generations. But the ground cannot speak for itself. The ground cannot correct the myths. The ground cannot explain the fear in the village, or the thirst on the bluffs, or the confusion in the ravines. Only human voices can do that, and many of those voices are not heard equally. For a long time, one version of the story dominates. It is a story centered on Custer, centered on the Army, centered on tragedy for the United States. But the larger truth is that the battle was part of a greater struggle over land, freedom, and survival. It was not only Custer's last stand, it was also a moment when Native nations stood together and defended their people. Still, the storm continues, because even after the smoke cleared, the Great Sioux War pushed forward. More battles, more surrenders, more forced moves followed. The United States did not stop until it gained control. So the final shape of this part is not a victory speech. It is a warning about power, a warning about consequences, a warning about what happens when one dramatic moment becomes the reason for a larger machine to move faster. And now, with the aftermath spreading across the plains, the story heads toward its final chapter: how the battle was remembered, how the myth was built, and why the real human story still matters today. After the Battle of the Little Bighorn, the fighting ends on the hills, but the story begins a second life. It travels faster than horses, it spreads farther than the river valley, and it becomes something the real people on that ground never asked for: a legend. In the weeks after the battle, the United States is stunned. Many Americans do not simply see a military defeat. They see an insult. They see a warning. They see the frontier slipping out of control. And when a nation feels embarrassed, it often responds with force. More soldiers are sent west. The army increases pressure across the plains. The Great Sioux War continues, not as one dramatic moment, but as a long push that wears people down. Native bands are pursued again and again. Food becomes harder to find. Winter becomes a weapon. Families are forced to make painful choices. Some groups surrender because they want their children to live. Some leaders hold out as long as possible. But the truth is harsh. After the Little Bighorn, the United States does not pull back. It moves forward harder. So the battle becomes a strange kind of turning point. It is a Native victory in one fight, but it also becomes the reason the government commits even more strongly to control the region. That is why the happy ending many people expect does not exist here. Not for the Army, not for the Native nations, not for the families who carried fear on their backs, not for the young soldiers who rode into a plan that failed. History does not always give clean endings. Sometimes it gives consequences, and then, as the war continues, another thing happens. The story begins to change shape. In newspapers and public speeches, Custer becomes larger than life. People far away start describing the battle without seeing it, without hearing the voices of those who lived it. They picture a perfect last stand, like a painting. They imagine a heroic circle on a hill. They imagine the enemy as a faceless wave. They imagine a simple story: brave men, Tragic end. Noble sacrifice. That version spreads because it is easy to remember. It fits in a headline, it fits in a speech. It fits in a nation's need to feel proud, even in loss. But the real battle of the Little Bighorn is not a neat picture. It is broken ground and confusing movement. It is ridges that block vision. It is dust and smoke and shifting attacks. It is fear that grows in the stomach before it reaches the face. It is soldiers trying to hold a line that keeps collapsing. It is a large camp of families trying to survive an attack. It is warriors fighting with urgency because their homes are behind them. And the truth is that the battle has more than one name, because it has more than one perspective. Many Americans call it Custer's Last Stand. Many Native people call it the Battle of the Greasy Grass. Those names are not just labels. They are reminders. They remind people that history depends on who is speaking. They remind people that one event can be remembered in different ways, one carrying real pain, real pride, and real loss. For years, one version of the story dominates public memory. It focuses on Custer. It treats him like the center of the world. But time has a way of widening the lens. Over the decades, more voices are heard. More accounts are studied. More Native memories are respected. People begin to see that the battle is not just about one man's last hour. It is about a collision between expansion and resistance. It is about treaties broken and promises ignored. It is about a sacred land made into a target. It is about the power of a people refusing to disappear quietly. And it is about what arrogance can do when it meets reality. The battlefield itself becomes a place of memory. Markers appear. Visitors walk the ridges. Some come for curiosity. Some come for respect. Some come to argue with the past. But no matter why people come, the land offers the same lesson. The wind does not pick sides. The river does not explain. The ground does not speak. People do. And that is why the story still matters. Because the Little Bighorn is not only about 1876, it is about how stories are built. It is about who gets remembered as a hero. It is about who gets called a threat. It is about what gets left out of the first draft of history. And it is about the human cost of turning real lives into symbols. In the end, the battle leaves two clear truths that can exist together. One truth: Custer's men were human beings who faced fear and death in a moment that went beyond their control. Another truth: the Lakota and Cheyenne fought to protect a living camp families, children, elders, and to defend a way of life that was being crushed. Holding both truths does not weaken the story. It strengthens it because it keeps the story human. And that is the resolution of this biography. The Battle of the Little Bighorn is not a simple legend about one man. It is a real event shaped by choices, pressure, land, and survival. It is a warning about what happens when leaders underestimate people they do not understand. It is proof that unity can stop a stronger force in a single moment. And it is a reminder that even after a famous battle ends, the larger struggle can continue, quietly, painfully, for years. And now the story belongs to the listener too, because the way people remember the past shapes how they treat the present. If the viewer wants more true, real-life biography stories told like this, clear, human, and honesty, they should subscribe and watch the next chapter. And in the comments, they should choose the next deep dive. Custer's biggest mistake, Crazy Horse's strategy, Sitting Bull's vision, or the Cheyenne warriors who protected the camp. Because the Little Bighorn is not just a battle people talk about. It is a story people still need to understand, and this time it should be told completely.